President-elect Donald Trump is signaling a departure from the Biden administration's approach on military aid for Ukraine. Here's what Trump said in a recent interview when asked about the devastating war with Russia.
Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably. Sure.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office.
I'm trying to end it.
You're actively trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been
You
elected?
mean, well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've been elected?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
On Tuesday, the Bush Institute, a nonpartisan group focused on strengthening democracy, released its policy recommendations for how the incoming administration should approach the war. It includes accelerating military aid to Ukraine, reinforcing economic sanctions on Russia, inviting Ukraine to join NATO, and holding Russia accountable for war crimes. David Kramer joins us now. He's the executive director of the George W. Bush Institute. David, thank you for being here. So if Trump does not heed these recommendations and diminishes or ends aid to Ukraine, what would that mean for the war and for the United States?
It would certainly be very bad for Ukraine. There's no question about it. Ukraine has been doing a heroic job of pushing back on Russia's aggression and invasion and war crimes. But Ukraine is in desperate need of assistance from the outside world, from the United States in particular. And so it is our hope in these recommendations that President Trump will maintain, if not even increase, military assistance to Ukraine so that Ukraine is either in a better position militarily or in a better position should the war move to a negotiating table. Ukraine needs to negotiate from a position of strength, and the United States can help do that.
On Sunday, Trump posted on social media about the war in Ukraine, saying, quote, "There should be an immediate ceasefire and negotiations should begin. I know Vladimir well. This is his time to act. China can help. The world is waiting." When it comes to making a deal with Putin, are there red lines that should not be crossed?
One of the biggest problems that I think the new administration will face is that Putin has shown no readiness or interest in a serious negotiation. He wants a change in the Ukrainian government. He wants recognition of territory that Russia occupies and even territory that Russia doesn't currently occupy. And he wants Ukraine to become a permanently neutral state. Those are all conditions that the Ukrainians would never accept. So I think it will be very difficult in the current environment with Putin thinking that he can get his way, that we can push forward on negotiations. We shouldn't pressure the Ukrainians to make compromises. We should let the Ukrainians drive this process and put them in a position of strength so that they can negotiate from that basis.
In that post, Trump also mentioned China potentially helping with peace negotiations. What role could China play? There are any risks in involving China?
When we talk about China, we should also talk about Iran and North Korea, because those three countries have provided invaluable assistance to Russia in its campaign against Ukraine. China has provided dual-use technology and has also provided economic and financial assistance to Russia during this war. I frankly don't see how China can play a constructive role. China has tipped its hand toward Russia, but China may have a role to play down the road should negotiations proceed and there's a need for outside powers to play some sort of peacekeeping role. But it's hard for me to imagine right now China playing a constructive role. The Ukrainians have tried to reach out to the Chinese, but so far the Chinese continue to provide assistance to Moscow.
Over the weekend, Syrian rebels toppled the Assad regime. Given that Putin was a close ally to the former dictator, what does the fall of Assad mean for Russia?
It is a big blow to Russia, and it signals that these regimes are not 30 feet tall. It reminds us that these authoritarian regimes seem stable until they're not. And it also has shown that Russia is not a terribly reliable partner. In 2015, Russia intervened militarily, propped up Assad. Then in Assad's gravest moment this past few weeks, Russia wasn't able to because it's bogged down in Ukraine. Iran wasn't able to because of the situation with Israel. So Assad had some bad partners, and they have proven to be unreliable. And so we shouldn't forget that. Putin granted Assad asylum. Two like-minded leaders, frankly, both of whom are responsible for war crimes and crimes against humanity.
David Kramer, thank you. We hope you'll come back.
Appreciate it. Thank you.